On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, with movies coming out without press junkets right now because of the strikes, do you think the studios could get to a point where they think we don't need press junkets? Also, Deadpool 3, there's a lot of rumored cameos going on out there about who could appear in the next Deadpool movie. We're going to go down the top 12 of those. Also, Little Mermaid has just debuted on Disney Plus to the biggest debut of anything on the platform this year. We're going to talk a little bit about its actual performance in 2023. And on top of that, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just had his development deal suspended at NBC Universal, as well as a few other people as well. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends over there at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. I'm joined in studio by Ray Ora.
Howdy.
Jonathan Voico's here.
Hello.
Chris Carr is in the house today.
Hey, y'all.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for joining us on this auspicious Ahsoka Day. Of course, the next episode of Ahsoka comes out tonight. I'm very curious. This isn't an official topic. Did you catch Ahsoka episode 4?
I have not. I'm behind.
Okay, so Ahsoka episode 4 was the first episode that I thought truly showed what the potential of this show is.
Oh, okay.
Because the episodes 1, 2, and 3 were okay. They're okay. A little bit disappointing, but good enough to keep me hanging in there. And episode 4 comes out last week. And it's like, okay, this is what this show can be, right? There's some really bold writing decisions made, good performances, good action. I mean, it was really a complete Star Wars story that they told in episode 4. So I'm going to be really curious tonight to see, was episode 4 a fluke? Or is that really the direction this show's going in?
I got to admit something, too. This is probably going to be pretty bad, but I'm actually looking forward to another show that I believe premieres today or tonight, and it's on the CW.
What? What's coming out on the CW?
It's a show called The Swarm, and I only saw a poster of it, and it says it premieres. It's a poster, and it's a whole bunch of killer whales that are charging something, and I'm like,
the rich.
You've heard about all the killer whale stuff going on, right? About how they've been bothering
going after
boats.
Yachts.
No, I have
bothering
not.
boats and stuff, actually either playing with them, or you've heard about
They've been going after them.
they've been going after
They're
boats
going
recently,
after-
like packs of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, look it up. It's crazy. Because I think you know how they're all family. If you hurt one of their families members.
So is this a Fast and the Furious
Are
movie?
you sure
or?
this isn't part of the urine war?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's called The Swarm. I don't know what it's about, but that poster got me. Talk about marketing. When I was on IMDb yesterday looking up a movie for you, at the top it said The Swarm, and I just saw these killer whales charging something, and I'm like, premieres September 12th. I got to watch this. So that's another show I'm going to watch, other than Ahsoka today.
All based on a poster.
Yeah.
Look at that. I've
See,
never heard
it
anybody
works.
say they're going to watch a TV show based on a poster before.
It works. If the poster had a moon on it, I'd watch it too.
The poster had a moon
There's
on
certain
it.
things that just grab your attention, right? So
All right. With all that down, guys, we got a bunch of things that we need to talk about here today. So let's get things started off with this, shall we? We do have a couple of strikes going on. We talk about it almost every day. It's the biggest thing going on in the world of entertainment is obviously the strikes. And we've also talked about some of the consequences and repercussions of the strikes, one of which has been a couple of movies have moved. Not because the movies haven't been finished, they are. Movies like Dune 2. But the thing is, that movie is packed with A-list stars. As long as the strikes are going on, they can't go out and promote that movie. So the people at the studio decided, you know what? It's probably going to be better for us to burn some money, move release dates, to have the benefit of those people, those performers being able to do press for it when it's time. So that actually brings us around to the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you have a question you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline number anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. Every day we'll pick one or two questions. Today is about will the studios just decide they don't even need the press junkets? Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. With movies still coming out during the writer's strike without having access to actor promos and press junkets and actor interviews, I was wondering if we see movies like Wonka or The Creator do really well financially without having to spend money on press junkets or actor promos. Could you see studios like Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Disney saying, hey, for some of our movies, we don't even need to do press junkets. We don't even need to do actor promos. Or would you think that doing actor promos and doing press junkets are just always going to be something that studios do? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in. And really, you bring up an interesting scenario that Hollywood is facing right now that I can't remember in any of the times that I've been covering movies we've ever had a situation like this where talent can't go out and promote the films they're doing. You know, it's funny. Who was it? Willem Dafoe. There was just a headline in Variety about Willem Dafoe saying he's completely heartbroken that he can't be out there promoting Poor Things. That's the one that I have very little interest in that movie, but it's getting banger reviews. Like a lot of people are saying it could be Emma Stone's next Oscar and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, we're in this situation that I can't remember being in before. So it brings into focus this whole point of press junkets. Dune 2 thinks it's so important they actually move the release date, whereas something like Color Purple doesn't look like that is changing release dates, although it doesn't have as many A-list stars in it as, say, something that Dune does. So, number one, the question is, would they ever decide they don't need to do press junkets? And then number two, do press junkets even make a difference? I mean, that's kind of a question that's implied in the message, right? Well, let's talk about whether or not the press junkets make a difference first. 1,000% press junkets make a difference. 1,000%. Not just the press junkets, but also the promotional tours. You know, whether it's the radio shows, the late night talk shows, podcast appearances. There we got Hemsworth and Evans with me doing the press day thing right there, of course. You know, and press junkets can be a lot of fun. You know what? I thought I'd share this one little clip with you. Speaking of press junkets and their value and whatever. Some of you may have seen this before, but I had the privilege once of, that
was your intro.
There was a little opportunity I had. One of my favorite things I've ever done was I got to actually be the moderator for one of the Avengers press conferences. And it was the day that Robert Downey Jr. publicly got really mad at me. Just in case you haven't seen it, check this out. Hands go up already. We're going to start things off here. I actually have a question for Cody to start things off here. Oh, God. Maria Hill is one of my favorite characters in the MCU because she's one of these threads that ties...
I must be mellowing with age, but I want to say this very clearly. The next time I'm not asked the first question, fucking walk out.
And now, just to be clear, I have done interviews with Robert Downey Jr. after that, so it was all in fun. Okay. That being said, you raise a really interesting question. Like, what if something like The Creator or Wonka come out without press tours, without a press junket, without their stars doing interviews, and the movies still do well? Well, here's the thing. They're still vitally important. Because what the studios know is that even if The Creator comes out and does well financially, and Wonka comes out and does well financially, the executives know it would have done even better. They would have made more money had it gone out, because the number one thing is awareness, right? And so when people are at home and they're listening to their podcasts, watching their daily shows or watching late night talk shows, and the movie stars come out or the creators come out and talk about you're putting awareness out there of the movie. And that is a vital, 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 vital thing. Believe me, the studios have spent a lot of money doing studies on these things. It absolutely equates to dollars. Doesn't mean you absolutely must have them, but you'll always know you could have done better if you did. Now, that might make you ask the question, well, why doesn't every movie that's about to come out push their release date? Because moving release dates comes with a dollar figure. It costs a lot of money to move release dates. And so you got to ask yourself the question, if you're the studio, okay, in which scenario are we going to lose more money? Trying to put this movie out without any press, or trying to move release dates? In the case of Dune, they're missing out on more money if they try to do it without their stars, because they got so many A-list stars. So yes, they want to do it. They should do it. They always know the movie will do better. Now, the second part of that equation in asking the questions, like maybe they think they don't need to do them. Remember, it's not really going to save the studios any money. Doing a press junket and having people go out and do interviews about the movie is the absolute most inexpensive part of film marketing there is. Like, you're spending way, like, in multiples and factors of 10 times more amount of money, 50 times more amount of money on booking out television commercial spots and putting them out there, having your commercial for your upcoming movie come out on Monday Night Football, or buying a block of ad things through YouTube or whatever. That's where the real money is. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the times, you know, the actors going to do the press, that's just a part of their contract in doing the movie.
Yep.
Right.
And
so
they're all in one room and the press is paraded in and out, as you know.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. They're not even changing outfits. The other group comes in. You're just there for a couple hours.
yeah. And really it's so it would be saving them very, 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 very little money at the expense of having a lot of free publicity, and publicity has a direct correlation to dollars. So I would say it's a very good question, but I don't think it's something that the studios would consider. Chris, you know, as somebody who's on the actor side of that as well, but as a film goer yourself, someone who watches interviews and all that kind of stuff, the two parts of that question. Do you think there is an upside for studios not to do junkets anymore? And really financially, do you think they need to do them?
I think they absolutely need to do them. I think they could do more of what A24's done, some of that guerrilla marketing of, you know, placing people at events like they did for Smile, doing things like that.
That was one of the coolest things, coolest marketing
very well
gimmicks
done.
they've ever done.
And a little insider info right now, too. A lot of things on casting networks right now are saying they need brand ambassadors for things, not actors, not people to break the strike, but they need a brand ambassador to dress up like characters of a movie to help promote the film in
they
that
want
capacity.
influencers.
Yeah. So there's that workaround that already some studios are doing. We saw this with Disney with their Haunted Mansion stuff. They didn't have the actors there, but they had actors who were performing as
Right.
attraction characters
Right.
instead to kind of still feel like there was some kind of frivolity and excitement there. But I think you do need these people promoting their movies. I mean, for your basic moviegoer, most of them, if I think about my parents, it's, oh, I saw so-and-so on Kimmel last night, and I didn't know they had a new movie coming out.
All the time.
That's
Happens
usually
all
how
the
they do
time.
it. My parents love Tom Cruise. They just watched Dead Reckoning and called me about it yesterday. We're like, why didn't people see this movie? Why didn't you see it until now? You know, and then for other people, younger audiences too, a lot of times you see these clips on Instagram, on TikTok that have been just kind of focused down to a 15-second reel. And then, oh my gosh, that interview with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling was so funny. I can't wait to go see Barbie. You know, we need these things there. And I always defer to you on box office. I don't follow it as closely. But the last two films that did get wildly promoted were Barbie and Oppenheimer, with the cast promoting them.
Yeah.
We really haven't had anything. And sure, that was a spectacle, and people can talk about the kind of KO2 pack there that was happening. But we haven't had anything that has had that much success at the box office or that much buzz afterwards. You know, we all talk about movies all the time, obviously, on this show, and we're in our bubble. But my friends who aren't involved in the industry, at least not as intensely, they're not still talking to me about Strays. They're not still talking to me about Blue Beetle. They're not still talking to me about Joyride. All of which, by all accounts, fun movies.
Yeah.
But without people talking about them who are involved in them, I think everyone loses interest so much faster. And we are such a quickly digestible culture now. That's why binging happened for so long, and then we'd stop talking about a show, right? I think we need the presence of these actors and creators to get us to continue being invested in them and to get our butts to the box office.
I think Equalizer 3 is a good example of that, right? Like, it came out, made $34 million opening weekend, which was good for its that's right around where the whole franchise is open. But can you imagine if instead of just coming out, and a lot of people are like, wait, there's an Equalizer 3 coming out this weekend?
Yep.
If Denzel Washington or Antoine Fuqua had been out doing Kimmel and doing Fallon and doing like all the other shows as well. Like, I'm not saying that would have turned a $34 million opening weekend into a $70 million opening weekend, but it could have turned it into a $40 million opening
I
weekend.
think it really helps too in terms of comedy. So like Strays and Joyride.
Oh, they really
because they
hurt
would have
that.
also been written like skits to do on like Fallon or whatever, and then like why am I blanking on his name from Strays?
Will
Ferrell?
He's amazing on talk shows.
He's so good.
To your point, they're going to be like, "Oh, Ferrell was so funny, and that clip was really funny. We should go check that out this weekend."
Yeah, I mean that's a movie that really would have benefited from having Jamie Foxx now that he's back on his feet and everything.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell out there doing that. It would have been great.
Will Ferrell half the time didn't even promote his movies. He'd dress up like Little
That's
Debbie.
the thing.
All right.
But then at the end, Fallon's like, "Catch him in Strays this week."
Yeah.
Like he has to do it for him.
Exactly.
I usually say these shows usually have exclusive clips anyways that are just that show it's able to premiere or
Yeah.
something like that. Like, remember when Jimmy Kimmel, like even during the sports game, he's like, we got the exclusive trailer to Avengers, whatever, right? Going to play like premiere on the later show. It's like it gets the rumbling going. You know what I mean?
But yeah, it's all part of the machine. It's all part of that
It's like
marketing
Taco Bell.
machine. It's all part important cogs. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the, speaking of strikes and movies being affected by it, Deadpool 3 got delayed. Unfortunately, it's really too bad too, because like it was right in the midst of production. Images were coming out from set, like images like this one. Images were coming out showing us Wolverine and Deadpool. I mean, things that we've been dreaming for years to see. The movie's been delayed, but it is still a movie that we are very much looking forward to and cannot wait to see. Now, there have been a lot of talks, pseudo reports, speculation, and rumors about who and what might be popping up in this. There's a couple of people that we know for a fact. Jennifer Garner. That's actually been officially confirmed. Jennifer Garner is returning as Elektra in it. I can't even begin to describe my joy over this particular circumstance. I'm very, very happy about that. But there have been a lot of others. Some have had some credibility, some more than others, and things like that. Well, you know, the good folks over at Screen Rant put up a really interesting article that basically was their thing of the 12 Marvel cameos rumored to appear in Deadpool 3. And I thought it was an interesting approach. So I thought we would take a second here and go through the ones that they're listing off and talk about what percentage chances that we think the 12 rumored characters that are appearing. Now, remember, all the ones we're going to see here have been the source or have been the subject of at least a couple of rumors online that these are happening. These aren't names that, you know, Screen Rant is pulling out of thin air. These have actually been rumors. Maybe some will be true, probably most of them not. So I thought we'd go through them here and see which ones they've got listed and which ones we think actually have a
This is
chance.
going to be Multiverse of Madness all over again, and I'm going to do so fucking bad.
All right, let's get things going here.
Man.
And starting with a spicy one.
Spicy.
Daphne Keane as X-23, Logan's daughter. Listen, Logan, I believe, is a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time. I'm on record about it. It was the first comic book movie in history to be nominated for Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards. I personally thought Patrick Stewart should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I really do.
Yep.
Patrick Stewart in that was just incredible. But everyone loved Daphne Keane. Her playing off of Hugh Jackman was incredible. And she didn't just disappear. Which it's not Wheel of Time. What's the other one?
His Dark Materials.
His Dark Materials. She got a leading role now. By the way, she's about to be in the Star Wars universe. She's going to be in The Acolyte. Now, I remember when this movie first came out, Logan first came out, people said they should just do a spinoff with her. I said, well, I mean, I don't think she can speak English really well. Well, I don't know where I got that assumption from because she speaks perfectly good English. I had no idea why I thought that. Like, I heard her talking on an interview. I'm like, you would never know she speaks anything other than English. Like, why did I have this thing in my head that she just, I have no idea.
She's that good in Logan when she's only speaking Spanish.
She really is that good. She convinced me that that's the only language she's ever spoken her whole life. So there you go. I'll ascribe my ignorance to her great acting talent. It's her fault. That's right. You know what? I think this is the best one on the list, but I think one of the least likely. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because she can't speak English. I just, for whatever reason, I can't qualify it. I'm going to give this a 40% chance at best that Daphne Keane, although one of the biggest pops I think you get in the in the audiences by having her there. Anyway, Chris, Daphne Keene is X-23. What percentage chance would you say of this actually happening?
Okay, I first of all have to say I would love to see them in this movie together, but it's already so overstuffed, and this would be a very emotional thing too, potentially. Otherwise, it's, who the fuck are you? Why are you here? I don't have a kid. What the hell? But I don't think it fits the tone of what this movie is going to be. And Deadpool always has been a secret romance. Like, it's been a secret rom-com. It's been fueled by love, and it just happens to be very foul and violent and everything. That's what gets you into the theater, and then you get your heartstrings pulled. But I think this is a little too much, especially after that gut-wrenching daddy that she says in the movie. Like, that is, it is rough. So I would give this like a 25%.
All right. By the way, that the one scene when they get back into the car and she just starts giving him shit and like speaking in tongue, I'm like, I love this girl so much.
She's incredible.
Oh, she's so good.
If you can see her audition tape still online, that it's amazing. She's like climbing all over stuff. She's wild.
All right, so there's that one. Let's get on to the next one here. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. Let's bring that up, Jonathan. Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, Professor X. Honestly, out of everything on this list, this I think is the most assured one that's going to happen. There's a couple that get up close to this, but Patrick Stewart himself a while ago started teasing this a bit. He actually in interviews teased a little bit that he may be appearing in Logan. And after seeing the two of them together, like getting a lot of really good screen time together in Logan, again, I thought Patrick Stewart should have been given an Academy Award nomination for this. And given that my theory about what this movie's about, and this is a completely unfounded theory, I have no proof of anything. It could be a big wild stretch. I think there's a Deadpool variant. It's going to be a play on Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I think there's going to be a Deadpool variant who believes the reason he never got into the MCU was because of the Fox X-Men, and that this Deadpool variant is going around killing all the X-Men, and our Deadpool and Logan team up to try to stop that guy. If that is anywhere even remotely close to true, which I have no proof or validation that it is, then you got to have Patrick Stewart. But again, because he's been teasing himself, I'm going to go as high as 90%. I am almost certain that he's going to pop up in this. What do you think about the chances of Patrick Stewart being in
You
there?
don't think that's a little too been there, done that after Multiverse?
I think it could have been too been there, done that after Logan, but they did it in a multiverse anyway.
That's fair. That's true. Also, is the variant going to be the hideous sewn up mouth Deadpool?
I didn't even think about that.
That'd be great.
Let's bring back that abomination.
Because, there have been some rumors and reports lately. It's not on this list, but we talked about it the other day, Liev Schreiber coming back. I mean, so if it was that Deadpool, that would be such a moment of catharsis for Ryan Reynolds himself to do that.
And then ultimately to kill that character.
To kill him. Anyway, back to Patrick Stewart. What
Patrick
chances
Stewart,
do you give it?
let's go like 65.
65. Okay, I'm going to go 90 on that. So you're going to go 65.
Yeah.
All right. And you can't have a discussion, of course, of Patrick Stewart returning without the legendary, the great Ian McKellen as Eric Leshner, a.k.a. Magneto. So one of the greatest photos I've ever seen on the internet is Ian McKellen wearing a T-shirt that says, "I'm Magneto and Gandalf, deal with it." I love that. Seeing in X-Men Days of Future Past, I thought that was going to be the last time we would see Patrick Stewart's Professor X and Magneto together. And I love that movie. I think Days of Future Past is a top 10 best comic book movie ever made. I love that movie. He's a big reason for it. Ian McKellen's still acting. He's still going. And I hate saying it. I don't know how much longer he's going to be acting. And if you have an opportunity and Ryan Reynolds loves Ian McKellen's Magneto, I think if Patrick Stewart's going to be in there, I would almost put it on the same level that McKellen will be in there. By the way, second only to Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds' bromance is Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen's. They've got some videos online of them touring London and all this kind of stuff.
They're so cute.
Oh, it's like one of the best things, heart-smiling things ever in the world. I'm going to give I love these
So they were
guys.
doing Waiting for Godot.
Oh, these guys are the best. I'm going to give it an 80%. Not quite as much as Patrick Stewart, but I'm going to give it an 80% that Ian McKellen shows up. What about you?
See, I would go 80 for Ian McKellen. I think,
you would say, in your opinion,
Yeah.
there's even a greater chance that McKellen shows up than Patrick Stewart.
I think so, because then you get to do a meta line too of, well, you keep getting Patrick Stewart. I don't know why no one calls me. I have a BAFTA. Go.
I have a BAFTA. All right, let's move on to this one. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff. All right. The one little bit of credence I'll give this is with her ability to kind of jump around multiverse a bit and to warp and change reality. That is something that could play into what the concept of Deadpool 3 could be. I'll give it that. That being said, I got nothing else here for this, right? First of all, it really does sound, when you listen to interviews from Elizabeth Olsen, of I loved being in the MCU, but I'm kind of ready to move on. Like, I don't know that we're ever going to see her come back. And if she is, I just don't see any real connection between her and the Deadpool character at all. I'm not going to say it's impossible because they've pulled off some strange things in the MCU, but I'm going to give this one a 10% chance. Chris, what about you?
10 sounds right. I feel like if you're going to bring her back, this probably isn't the movie for it, unless all of a sudden, Deadpool 3 is a linchpin kind of movie for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and decides who exists where and everything. Kind of what I thought would happen with Multiverse of Madness. I thought that's what we were getting from it. But I'm trying to temper those expectations. You could have, nice mom version of Wanda pop back up, and then we get that version of her, and that also brings the kids in as actual real entities. But I don't think the Wanda we know, who went full,
villain,
spooky, black fingers and all, trying to play with the Necra, whatever book that is. I don't think we're going to get her back at this point in time.
All right, let's move on to this one. This one's interesting to me. Channing Tatum as Remy LeBeau, also known as Gambit. Of course, you guys will remember that they officially announced a Gambit movie before the Fox got bought by Disney. And at Comic-Con, they brought out Channing Tatum on stage with Hugh Jackman, with Ryan Reynolds, celebrating. This was a Fox panel, this upcoming thing. And there's a lot of photos of Ryan Reynolds with Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum, of course, recently appeared in Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy. He was hilarious in that. These scenes were so funny. And listen, while a lot of people guffawed initially years ago when they heard Channing Tatum as Gambit, I have always, that's a great picture of them. I have always maintained, I actually think Channing Tatum would have been a really good Gambit. He's got the pure physicality to do it. He's got the look. He's got the moves. And listen, he has developed himself into a really fine actor. Not one of the world's best, but a really fine actor from a guy I used to think was one of the worst in the business. But he's developed a lot. And you know what? This could be our John Krasinski as Reed Richards moment. They weren't going to make John Krasinski Reed Richards, but so they thought, you know what? We got an opportunity here for just in this one movie. Let's pop him in there for a couple of scenes. I think that could be that moment for Channing Tatum. I'm going to go as high as 70% that Channing Tatum will pop up just quick, but will pop up in this movie as Gambit. What do you think the chances are?
This is my big gamble one, 90%.
Ooh.
All right.
You're like, this one's going to happen.
Listen, when we first reported on this rumor back in July or August, Channing Tatum had said, losing this character was like losing a friend.
Right.
He was so devastated over this. And to get very Hollywood gossip about it, last night, Ryan Reynolds, Taylor Swift, a whole bunch of other people were out having dinner. Ryan Reynolds likes working with his buddies.
Yeah.
And if he can make a buddy of his have a really lovely memory with a character that he did not get to play prior, I think he'd push for it. I really, really do. And I know that's not always how the business works, but you look at someone like a Taika Waititi where it's, no, my whole goal is just to make movies with my friends and with people I like. And I feel like Ryan Reynolds is on that same path of, why work with people I don't enjoy, and why not work with people who I can make sure they have the best time possible once this movie gets to go back into production.
Right. And he was legitimately excited about Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yeah.
When it was going to happen. So that's something to keep in consideration. All right, let's move on to this one. Halle Berry as Storm. This is one that is also way up there for me because, you know, as they were filming Deadpool, pictures came out of Halle Berry re-rocking her Storm haircut and coloring, going along with everything else. It's to the point that I will be surprised if she doesn't pop up in this. I'm not going to go quite as high as Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, but I'm going to go 75%, a little bit even more for me than Channing Tatum, just because of the images that came out on her own social media while they're shooting Deadpool 3. I'm going to say 75%. What about you?
I'd go 80. I mean, the hair really seemed to be a kind of indicator of everything. But then again, Storm's hair wasn't particularly consistent throughout the series. So
no, but I mean, the coloring,
Yeah.
it was very Storm looking.
sure. But maybe Haley was just like, you know what? I rocked this before. That looked great.
That's true. That's true. All right. Let's move on to one of the OG on-screen X-Men. Famke Janssen as Jean Grey. You know what? Considering what my guess of what the premise of this movie is going to be, it would make sense for her to be there as an OG. I mean, you're talking about with Logan, it's really about love interest a lot of times. And there is no other real love interest, like as real as his with Jean Grey. But I feel like her appearance at the end of Days of Future Past was her goodbye. I don't think she's going to be in this, although it would make sense for her to be in it. So I'm going to make it a pure coin toss because I don't think she will, but no other character makes more sense being in there given the connection to Logan. I'm going to say it's a straight up coin toss. I'm going to go 50% on this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't want her in this.
Really?
No, I got so sick of Jean Grey just always being around. And so in this, please just be like, why won't you die? I mean, personally, like Jean Grey is not one of my favorite X-Men. I do not enjoy historically how she's written. I don't like a lot of the choices she makes. And then in the X-Men films, I was just like, can we, bye. Okay, bye. Stop appearing as like visions to Logan and stuff like that. No.
All right.
That's my own personal preference though.
Well, you can't talk about Jean Grey maybe being in there without James Marsden as Cyclops. Probably the most misused James Marsden has ever been in. I mean, listen, I have a big soft spot. I love a lot of the X-Men films, but one of the biggest mistakes ever made was their misuse of James Marsden as Cyclops. They just did not use the character right. James Marsden is maybe hotter right now in his career than he's ever been. Coming off of Sonic and that damn, what was that?
Jury Duty.
Jury Duty, in which he is gold.
He's incredible in that show.
So good at Jury. My favorite moment of Jury Duty was when he's in the other guy's hotel room, blows up his bathroom. They leave a big fake crap in the bathroom. And the guy whose room it is comes out, and James Marsden's like, "Oh, that was there when I came in." It's like there's no one else that could have been in here. Marsden is so good, but again, it would make sense for him to be there. But I'm going to give this one a push as well. I'm going to make this one the same as I think the two.
Yeah.
I think if one of them appears, the other one will.
More than likely.
But I think so. I'm going to go straight 50% on this.
Yeah, I would go coin toss on that too. I would love James Marsden to be in this too, though, because this was at a time in his career where he was always that other option guy, right? The Notebook, where he Enchanted, even it was always
he's so good in
and he's
Enchanted.
great in that. But was always, I'm going to pick Superman. With Brandon Routh, he was always the other option guy.
Yeah.
And that's what he still inevitably was as Cyclops, which was not nearly as interesting as it could have been.
You know what he's really good in and nobody talks about? Anchorman 2. As he plays the rival guy in Anchorman 2. He is the perfect looking other newscaster dude. I thought he was great in that.
He's really funny.
Oh, he's so good. Okay, let's move on to this one. Ben Affleck coming back as Daredevil again. I mean, after all, it's official. Jennifer Garner's coming in as Elektra. It would make sense, except I'm going to say no. I don't get me wrong. I would love to see it. I'm one of the few people in the world who says Ben Affleck's Daredevil movie is a really good movie. You take out that teeter-totter scene, I would say it's a great movie. I really love, that teeter-totter scene is one of the worst sequences in comic book movie history. It's so bad. But other than that, I love Colin Farrell in it. I love Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin in it. I love Kevin Smith's little pop-up in it. I love John Favreau as
John Favreau
Foggy.
is Foggy. Oh.
I really liked this Daredevil movie. I don't care what anybody else says. That being said, I don't see this happening. I don't see Ben Affleck, who's been doing I'll quickly reprise my role as Batman a little bit. I don't see this happening. I really don't. I'm going to give this a little bit of a better chance than, say, Wanda. I'm going to say 15%. So very, very unlikely. What about you?
I'd go like 40% on this, actually. You know, especially he did the cameo for DC. I think he'd do it again for Marvel. Again, there's great meta jokes that can be made here too about, you know, why do I not get to do more movies? Why am I always in these one and dones and then ensemble pieces? This is bullshit. And he and Jennifer Garner get along really, really well. They co-parent and everything. So I think they would have a nice time on set together too.
Okay. Next up, this one Ray will be interested in.
Woo.
Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Happening 100%.
Any Blade? Any Blade?
Not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Of course.
I think if they're going to put
already
any
filmed the
Blade
scenes.
on screen, it's got to be Mahershala Ali. I mean, listen, if the Mahershala Ali Blade movie had already come out,
What's that?
yeah, what's that? Don't know what you're talking about.
He's in denial phase.
If the Mahershala Ali Blade movie had already come out, I would give this a higher percentage chance. But I think they've got to keep any Blade talk right now focused on their
That
Blade.
would've-
I don't think maybe Ryan Reynolds would want to do it. I don't know, but I don't think Marvel will let this happen. So I'm gonna go. Again, they've done more ridiculous things. I'm gonna go 5%. 5% chance. You know, maybe I'll go 10. 10% chance this
But
happens.
Ryan Reynolds was in a Blade movie.
That's true.
Wait.
You know what? He was Hannibal King.
20%.
Hey.
He was Hannibal King in Blade
25%.
3.
Yeah,
You
we're
know what?
raising this.
I'll take any Blade right now.
Yeah.
Just give me some sort of
Shit,
Blade.
that's a very compelling argument. Fuck.
I think,
I
honestly,
have to raise my 10%.
so much of this, and I know I keep saying like people are friends, these people get along. I really think that's what a lot of this movie is going to come down to, is Ryan Reynolds being like, you know, it'd be really silly if I get to do
You
this.
silly
And like I
dude.
said, remember what the code name of this film was when they're tidal wave. And I always thought that meant tidal wave of
You
characters.
have Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But here's going to the Blade Trinity thing. David Goyer, who I believe wrote and directed Blade 3, was famously attacked on set by Wesley Snipes. And one of the commonly believed things that was really at the heart of it was the fact that David Goyer was basically making this movie. What was the name of them? The Night Stalkers? That was Hannibal King. And,
Right.
And Jessica, I forget Jessica
Jessica
Biel's
Biel?
character's
Jessica,
name.
I don't know.
But
Her name.
that he was kind of upset that he just basically made Blade a secondary character in their movie.
Right.
So maybe that's a door Wesley wouldn't want to open again. Then again, Wesley doesn't have a lot of doors to open right now. So you know what? I'm going to change my 10 to 20.
Okay.
I'm going to change my 10 to a 20. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right. Let's go to this. I can't believe I forgot about the Blade thing.
Doom.
All right. Julian McMahon is Victor Von Doom, a.k.a. Dr. Doom. All right. I'll tell you why this is interesting.
It's not. What are you kidding, man? You're a great actor sometimes.
But I'm going to tell you why it is interesting. I believe that Julian McMahon as Dr. Doom is one of those situations where you had the right guy in the wrong movie.
that's fair.
I really do. I think Julian McMahon was a good choice to play that role, and I think he could have done something really cool with it. It was the right casting in the wrong movie. And there could be an opportunity there. I believe McMahon would do it in a heartbeat. And I think there could be a little bit of an opportunity there for something fun. Do I think it's likely? No. By the way, our own Aaron Cummings played a love interest of Julian McMahon in Nip Tuck.
Aw.
Anyway, so I'm going to go. Oh, and I really liked him in The Runaways too. Oh, I really liked him in The Runaways. I'm going to say 25% actually, which is higher than I think most people would give it. But I'm going to say 25%. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, like 15. I mean, we
That
are
was their
getting
number. That was
Fantastic
Screen
Four.
Rant's number 2 pick?
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I don't think these are ranked. I don't think these things are ranked. I think it's just in 12 of them. All right. That leads us to the final one. And this is a more recent one that's been going out there. Maybe spurred by dinner pictures of Ryan Reynolds and her, but Taylor Swift
Yeah.
as Dazzler.
Or just as Taylor Swift.
Or just as Taylor Swift, just making a cameo as herself. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. And, you know, you might want to say, be tempted to say, but John, she's the biggest act in the world right now. Her movie's selling out all over the place. But you know what? Her movie's selling it because it's a Taylor Swift thing. Putting Taylor Swift in a movie does not get people out to watch the movie. Look at Cats. Nobody went to go see Cats. They highly publicized that Taylor Swift was in Cats. The one little movie she just did that was a failure on every level with all the stars. Amsterdam. They put her in the trailers. Taylor Swift. Ain't nobody went to go see Amsterdam. So I don't see it. Look, the only way I can see this happening is as Chris said, you know, Ryan just likes to work with people he likes, which is why he invited me to cameo in the movie as well. But my schedule's full.
Yeah, you're scared.
He does like to work with people he likes. Taylor Swift is a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. Mm-hmm. They are friends in real life. And maybe she just sees it as a big kick to do it. That's the arguments for it. That's why I will go as high as 30%, but I think very unlikely. Chris, what do you think?
I mean, it's fun casting. We technically have had Dazzler already, though, in X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yep.
Was housed on stage for just like a quick second in a music video kind of thing.
But we've had multiple Sabretooths.
Sure.
We've had multiple, yeah.
And that's part of like the ridiculousness of all of this too. But I don't know if Taylor is going to show up as Dazzler.
Does it have to be Dazzler, or will she? Can you
Well,
guys
that's
just say?
the rumor. The
Yeah.
rumor is she's going to be Dazzler.
But you guys are predicting just her appearing. It doesn't matter what character.
Her showing
right?
up as herself, I think, is more likely.
I mean, I agree that her showing up as herself is more likely. I still think it's highly unlikely.
I think it'd be great if then Deadpool tried to hand her a sparkly leotard and was like, put this on.
Wear this. It'll be
You
so
should write
good.
this movie, Chris.
Thank
I'm telling
you.
you. 95% for me. Taylor Swift's in it.
Ooh.
right. Guys, question is for you. Which ones of these do you think are the most likely? Which ones do you think are the least likely? Go ahead and let us know what you guys think. All right. With that down, we still have to talk about this stuff about The Little Mermaid making a huge debut on Disney+. We also need to talk about Dwayne Johnson, Lorne Michaels, and others getting their NBC Universal deals suspended as the strike's going on. But before we get to that stuff, we want to take a moment to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at DraftKings and my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, speaking of Ryan Reynolds, Mint Mobile. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this episode, DraftKings. Football is back and in full swing with another week of epic games. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on all the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. So get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use the code CAMPEA to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code CAMPEA. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at DraftKings and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into this, shall we? You know, one of the more interesting movie stories of 2023, I mean, we had like the big hits, Mario Brothers, Barbie, obviously. We had the big misses, whether it's Blue Beetle, Flash, Indiana Jones. But there have been a couple of other really interesting movie stories, and I think one of the more interesting ones was Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid was a movie that came out and opened to like $95 million, which was an okay opening weekend for a big movie. But it also had a lot of people thinking and looking at the momentum it had and all that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of bullshit controversy surrounding it because she's not white. Anyway, fucking sucky babies. Anyway, all that surrounding it. And I'm not even really a big fan, to be honest with you, of the original animated Little Mermaid, but I saw it. I thought this live action version was actually quite good, but it didn't look like it was even going to make like, say, $400 million at the box office. Well, it had incredible legs, no pun intended. It had incredible legs in it, and it went on to make $570 million, which is not exactly blockbuster numbers, but when you're talking about like a year where, I mean, that made more than Mission Impossible, made more than Indiana Jones, made more than most comic book movies that came out that year, all that kind of stuff. It just held on, eventually became profitable, made $570 million. And now it debuted on Disney Plus, and according to reports, it's the biggest launch they've had this year. This comes us from Joe Blow, who wrote the following. Disney's live-action remake of The Little Mermaid debuted on Disney Plus last week and made one hell of a splash. According to Disney, The Little Mermaid garnered 16 million views in its first 5 days on the streaming service, which makes it the most-watched Disney movie premiere on Disney Plus since the release of Hocus Pocus 2, which I still have no idea how that movie did the numbers that it did. The biggest launch since Hocus Pocus 2 last year in 2022. So Little Mermaid comes out, their biggest launch of the year, but it's actually the next little feather in its cap of kind of an impressive 2023. Take a look at this. The Little Mermaid in 2023, first of all, worldwide, it's the number 7 box office film of the year. Worldwide at $570 million. At just the domestic box office, it's up at number 6. Only 5 other films this entire year have made more money at the box office than The Little Mermaid did at $98 million. And this newest one you see here at the bottom, that Disney, it's the number 1 launch that they've had of the year in 2023 with 16 million downloads. Now look, let's not paint a false picture here that all this means that this was an unimaginable success for Disney. It wasn't. But considering how it started, if you had told a lot of people during its opening weekend that, hey, by the end of its run, it would be the number 7 worldwide box office film, the number 6 domestic box office film, and be the number 1 launch on Disney Plus of the year, I don't think a lot of people, maybe even including me, would have believed you. So they took what some people interpreted as a bit of a struggling start and turned it into a pretty respectable run for it. And I think, again, much like Elemental had insane legs to carry it to what it eventually accomplished, I think this is really a testimony to the fact that this was just a very good movie. I'm not going to end up being one of my top 5 favorite of the year, but it was a very good movie that I enjoyed a lot. I liked it even more than the original animated one myself. I know that's sacrilegious to say amongst some people. Anyway, Chris, you're looking at these numbers. How surprised are you by them? And out of those 3 particular categories, number 7 worldwide, number 6 domestically, number 1 launch on Disney Plus for the year, which one stands out to you the most as being the most impressive?
The one I want to talk about the most is those digital numbers, because, oh my gosh, can you track those, Bob? That's wild. You can track those numbers and know exactly how many people have watched this. That's so interesting.
Counterpoint. didn't make Disney Plus any more money that they
Of
had
course
those
it
members.
didn't. But for all of your other streaming options, oh my God, you can track it. No, I think this is wonderful, especially because I think so many people were also saying this was a flop of a film, too. It was
During
just
its
this-
first day of release.
Yeah,
or
it was
before it even released.
The narrative
yeah.
of this was just so ridiculous of, it doesn't have huge numbers at the box office. It's a failure. Oh, well, it's not performing well overseas. Oh,
Remember,
it's a
those same
failure.
places said the same thing opening weekend of Avatar 2.
Exactly.
Not
Right?
not that this had Avatar 2's results.
Well, and that's what I think we always keep coming back to, too, is the weekend box office, while it's great when it does really, really well, the legs are much more important. The longevity of a film doing well and people continuing to go to theaters, that's really what matters here, is getting the rest of your budget paid for with these viewings. And that's not always going to happen those first 2 to 3 days. So it's great to see that this is performing so well online. I'm sure this is also, though, to your point, another moment for Disney of going, wow, we really need to put ads and shit on here so we can make money off of this streaming service. Because right now, the subscription fee for Disney Plus is, in my opinion, very, very reasonable for everything you get on it. And I don't know why they haven't tried doing more ads and everything. It just seems like something from the jump that should have been happening. Even doing those little, I know this isn't popular, but doing the pre-release payments too for their movies at first, like they did in the pandemic, of like, you can watch this for $20. I don't know why they haven't been doing a, hey,
Well,
dude,
a lot of their subscribers kind of revolted.
did they get really,
Again, we're
you
really
could
upset
just do
by
like
that.
$2 though. I mean, I'll pay $2 for shit.
Did you see the story we did yesterday about how Disney Plus is now going to be on Spectrum Charter cable? If you're a Spectrum
Oh.
Charter cable subscriber, you're now going to have, you don't have to go and subscribe to Disney Plus. You're going to have it on your cable packaging,
Okay.
the ad supported tier.
So they're all kumbaya now? Because I
They're
know
all-
like last
yep.
week we were like,
They're all holding hands and love each other, and now
sweet.
Disney's going to get 14 million more not subscribers, but 14 million more households that can watch Disney Plus content with commercials running on it. So I mean, it's an interesting move for them. All right, with that down, guys, let's talk about this, shall we? Now, you guys might remember that it was about a week or so ago that we discussed the fact that Warner Brothers suspended the development deals of a lot of production companies that were working with the company. Now, under the terms that were kind of revealed in the article on Variety, it was that like these studios, after I think it said 100 days, after 100 days, have the right to suspend contracts because
Yes.
work isn't happening in the business. They actually went beyond the 100 days and then suspended them. Well, while we talked about that, we said Warner Brothers isn't going to be the only company that does this. And sure enough, NBC Universal has now started to suspend the contracts of high-profile people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like Lorne Michaels, and others. This comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment, who write the following. NBC Universal abruptly ended its studio deals with high-profile producers on Monday, including Saturday Night Live creator Lorne Michaels and Dwayne Johnson's Seven Buck Productions, who brought Young Rock to the network. The move came the same day as similar cuts at CBS, where talk show host Dr. Phil's deal was also put on hold. In addition to Saturday Night Live, Michaels produces the Pete Davidson Peacock sitcom Bupkis through his company Broadway Video. He moved shop to NBC Universal in 2018 after 30 years at Paramount Pictures. Then also, one is really interesting. Mike Schur, whose many NBC projects, including some of the best ever, The Office, The Good Place, and Parks and Rec, is also reported to have had his pact with the network put on hold. So basically, it's important to make a distinction here between suspended and canceled. These are not deals that have been canceled, although canceling is a button that's available to the producers. And we talked in the Warner Brothers situation that we think Warner Brothers is probably going to use that as a scenario where they can renegotiate terms on these deals. Because they're kind of in the driver's seat now in this really sucky situation where it's like, okay, we can and do have the right to cancel these deals. We don't want to cancel them, but we'd like to revisit some of these terms. I have to wonder if all the studios will try to take advantage of that, or maybe even if some of these production companies might try to take advantage of that. Like one of these companies that's working at NBC Universal say, you know what? We think the deal that we signed originally could be better. Hey, NBC Universal, let's talk about this right now. Since, you're suspending the deals, we think you can make things a little bit sweeter for us here. I don't know that's going to happen. I'm just saying it's going to be an option that's on the table from both the studio side and probably the production company side. Again, Chris, this is something that is not unexpected. We saw kind of the first sign of this, the canary in the cave mine, if you will, with the Warner Brothers situation. Yeah. We knew it was going to start happening with other places, and we knew it was going to involve some other high-profile people, including people like The Rock and stuff like that. But what is the significance of this? Because to me, it's just a very visible thing of the impact that's happening on the industry as a whole. When you get high profile people like this having development deals suspended, I'm sure some of them are going to get canceled at some point, but how do you look at this whole situation?
I mean, like you were saying, we predicted this last week. We were talking about how there had already been rumors about not only things being suspended at Universal, but layoffs around the corner too. And that obviously is going to be happening. What I think is really interesting is looking at what hasn't been suspended yet, honestly, because while Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is an incredible entertainer who has a great, well, I was going to say has a great track record, but some things haven't been performed.
Most of his track record's pretty good.
Most of it's pretty good.
Most of it, yeah. Not all of it.
Rough year. But Dick Wolf, obviously the creator of Law and Order.
Yeah.
No suspensions there. Seth MacFarlane and Alex Kurtzman are continuing to provide services too, because animation is this weird kind of nebulous area right now too, where some projects are still moving forward because they're not struck work entirely, which is a minefield right now because I'll get an audition and be like, am I allowed to do this? But they're keeping people who I think have had very, very strong relationships with them and very, very successful track records. I mean, Dick Wolf, there really hasn't been a ding there.
No.
Law and Order has
been
on.
That's a relationship they've had for decades.
Decades long,
They're never going to interrupt that relationship.
And I mean, that deal got upped, I think, in April, if I'm not mistaken.
For those of you not familiar with the Dick Wolf name, I mean,
dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Law and Order and that whole franchise of things that came out, that is a long-standing, decades-old, successful relationship that hell or high water, they're not going to do anything to upset that boat.
Yeah.
You're right.
And for a long time, too, NBC was really focusing on pausing television. That's now started to expand to film and everything as well, just because this has gone on much longer than I think anyone's anticipated. But I do think we're going to see so many more of these suspension of deals. I think if this goes on for any longer, we're going to see some cancellations. And again, we're going to see a lot of layoffs, which is very, very unfortunate because it doesn't just affect the writers, the actors, and the executives. Obviously, IATSE is involved now. It affects all of the different tradespeople involved. It affects so many people in these different markets, too, who their livelihoods are dependent on film and television being made, caterers, all kinds of people. So I just want everyone to get along.
You know, I was reminded the other day of a conversation we had because you were pointing out few weeks ago about the fact that the last writer's strike was really the birth of the reality television movement because you didn't need writers, even though there was writing going on. But, you know, on the surface, you didn't need writers. And I remember I thought about you saying that as I was watching football this weekend. Because when I was watching the Fox game, the games that were happening on Fox, every commercial break was some new fandangled game / reality show, like 5 new ones I had never even heard of. And that's all they were advertising. I'm like, here it comes. All this content that they don't need writers for. It's like, I don't want this to be the future of television. Please somebody make this stop.
We're going to see a huge uptick in all of that. And I know for a while people too were thinking it would also turn over some, you know, foreign projects, and that could be really cool to have that expansion happening. And
well, the NCIS
thing that we talked about too, right? But I really think it is going to be mostly reality television, mostly game shows, because I don't think any of you guys follow it, but like the Vanderpump situation that blew up, I think also got a lot of traction because people wanted drama and they wanted something to focus on. And television's wrapping up, films are wrapping up. Let's focus on this. And I think we're going to see so much more of that. So much more Love is Blind.
TV. I hate trash TV so much. Like I'll walk into the living room and Ann was watching something called Selling Sunset. I'm like, oh, what's this about? It's about people with no problems selling multi-million-dollar homes. I hate that. You know what? I even lost a little bit of my fandom this weekend. I lost a little bit of my fandom for Timothée Chalamet. You know, I love Timothée Chalamet.
Oh, because he's with Kylie?
He's dating a freaking Kardashian.
Oh, they're enterprising businesswomen. The heart wants what the heart wants. All right.
Timothy, I expected better.
Oh.
I expected better.
Oh my gosh.
Be George Clooney. Go Go find some woman that's changing the world. What's her name?
Amal?
Aman?
Amal.
Amal.
She's
Go
a human
find
rights
your
lawyer?
Come on.
George Clooney didn't settle down with her till he was like 65.
I'm under NDA. I can't comment on this.
For those of you who don't know, before coming to work for the John Campea Show, wait, am I even allowed to say this?
No, you can.
Oh,
That's what you have.
I
Jonathan
just can't give up any.
was
Thanks for
working
that.
daily at Kardashian's house.
Yeah,
So-
well, that's not happening anymore. No.
Don't let the opinions expressed by John Campea are those of his alone.
Yes, yes.
But anyway, I hate trash TV. Anyway, guys, with all that down, let's move over now and start taking questions from our YouTube channel members. Every day, we spend the last part of the show taking questions exclusively from our YouTube channel members. That we go to them and ask them to submit some topics and questions, and we get through as many as we can. Now, before we get to those, though, we're going to take another moment and thank a couple of more sponsors of today's episode. Our friends at MasterClass and the shoes on my feet, Vessi. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. With MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. Masterclass.com/Campea. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Vessi. Now, like me, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Vessi, the shoe that claims to be incredibly comfortable and waterproof on top of that. Well, these claims are really interesting to me because as a Canadian who walked around in a lot of snow, and as somebody who likes to go camping and hiking with his wife on the weekends, there's nothing more uncomfortable and horrible than walking around in wet feet. So after receiving my first pair of Vessis and noticing how incredibly good looking the shoes are and how mind-boggling comfortable and flexible they are, the first thing I did was I took them into the backyard to put it to the supreme waterproof test and dipped my feet in my pool. Guys, my feet were bone dry, and like 20 seconds after having them in the pool and I touched them, the shoes themselves were also bone dry. Guys, seriously, these shoes are stupidly comfortable, they look great, and they absolutely lived up to the claim of being waterproof and keeping my feet dry. I absolutely love my Vessi shoes. So guys, if you want shoes that are good looking, are ridiculously comfortable, and on top of all that waterproof, you need to head to vessi.com/Campea and get yourselves a pair today. Go to vessi.com/Campea and get shoes for your best summer yet. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass and Vessi for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Okay, guys, with that all down, let's get over now to our YouTube channel member questions. Jonathan, what do we got up first? Or Chris, I should say. Sorry.
Oh,
What's
I was
up?
going to say, Jonathan, you took my gerb. From Dr. Stinky. I finally got around to finishing The Last of Us, and wow, what a masterpiece. Can't wait for season 2.
Dude, I can't believe you waited till now to get around. Seriously, Last of Us. I mean, we all had the feeling that this was going to be something that could break the video game curse, right? Because all video game adaptations just suck. And we saw the previews for it, and we thought this could be. We saw the cast; they loaded it with talent, and it is simply one of the most stunning things I've ever seen on TV. I mean, episode 3 alone is one of the best single episodes of television I've ever seen. At least emotionally moving, all that kind of stuff. The way they developed the relationship through it. In many parts, they stayed very true to the game, and in the places that they deviated, they actually improved it. It was such a rare feat, and maybe by 2028, when we get to see the second season, we'll go. But I am with you. I cannot wait for season 2. Very excited for it. All right, what's next?
From Pro Wrestling Eve. Hi, everyone. I know in the past, John mentioned about finding the episodes of BBC's Sherlock series, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman, too long to watch. The series producer said in an interview these were kind of meant as TV movies, hence only 3 episodes a season. Would that knowledge change your view on watching it? I highly recommend A Scandal in Belgravia if ever giving it another shot. Many thanks to you all.
I don't recall ever saying that I thought that the episodes were too long.
I mean, they are long, but
I think
They're
I've
long.
mentioned that I was shocked at like that on British television. Sometimes you can have a series that is 3 episodes or something like that, but I don't think I've ever said something was too long. On that, at some point I will get around to watching. I just remember I watched like the first 15 minutes of one episode. I'm like, this is a Sherlock Holmes show, right? Like at some point there's going to be Sherlock Holmes. But that's about as far as I got into it. But at some point I do want to watch it. All right, what's next?
Great. From Kayak. I plan to watch 6 movies in theaters this summer, but then I signed up for a loyalty program and ended up watching 15.
Nice.
Some of them twice. Once a month, I get to attend a secret screening, and from time to time, I can watch movies a couple of days before their premiere. All this for the price of 2 tickets. I recommend joining such a program to every film fan. I should have done it sooner.
Listen, again, when there are a couple of good ones out there, Regal Unlimited is a good one. Cinemarks is not nearly as good, but it is a value. It's a good value if you get it. But Alamo Drafthouse is going, but the best is AMC A-List. What you get for AMC A-List, like, look, for the price of, in some cases, 1 movie ticket. Like I pay like $25 a month. So a little bit more than 1 movie ticket. I get to go to 12 movies a month. I can go to any format, whether it's regular format, 3D, IMAX, Amazon or AMC Prime with Dolby. It's all included. I get free upgrades on all my snacks. So if I want a large soda, all I have to do is order a medium soda. And every time I do, it still accumulates points. And every time I go to AMC, it's like, oh, I've got like $10 of credit on my cards. I get to spend on other stuff. It is, if you live anywhere near an AMC theater, you absolutely must get AMC A-List. 100%, unless you don't go to any more than 1 movie a month, then you don't need it. But, and Regal Unlimited, while not as good, still gives you a lot of those perks as well. Are you an Unlimited member? Because you're right by Regal.
I do Regal, yeah.
So you do Regal Unlimited?
Mm-hmm. So I get unlimited movies. There's just a convenience fee of like 50 cents when I buy stuff. I do have to pay an extra like $4.99 if I upgrade to 40X, and then I get discounts on food. And they sent me popcorn and soda on my birthday, which I have not used because I don't like popcorn. I'm going to give it to Logan.
Oh my God.
I know, I'm a monster.
Oh my God.
I don't like corn as a
I don't
whole.
like corn either, but popcorn is, you know,
Popcorn
I don't
doesn't really
like
do it for me.
tomatoes, but I love tomato sauce. I can't,
What kind of Italian are you?
Oh, I hate tomatoes,
Gosh,
but I
that's
love
weird.
tomato sauce.
Man.
Like, anyway, and I don't drink wine. What
Shame.
kind of Italian am I indeed? All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, having enjoyed the Last of Us show, Twisted Metal series, and the Gran Turismo movie, I think Sony PlayStation should make an animated series or streaming movie with Crash Bandicoot. I loved playing the Warped game as a kid on the first PlayStation, and most recently Crash 4 on the Switch.
I feel like there was talk
the
at
Switch.
one point.
There
of a
was
Crash.
some talk. I think they did some canvassing. I don't think they found a lot of interest in it. Not to mention that would be an expensive one. I think that would probably be a more expensive one and not one of their more. I know some people are going to disagree with me when I say this, but I don't think one of their more popular titles. But I'll tell you what, this Sony PlayStation Studio stuff has been doing some pretty good things. I think the worst thing they've done is Uncharted, and that wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Have you seen
I
Twisted Metal yet?
No, I still not seen.
You
Twisted
might
Metal.
have.
I've heard a lot of people like Twisted
I
Metal.
like
though.
it, but there's a lot of people that hate it.
And
so.
I know I'm really looking forward to their God of War.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one, I'm actually really excited about. So they're off to a pretty good start, actually. All right, what's next?
From Ulatan, John, I didn't want to believe you at first, but you're right. Android is better than iPhone. I switched over to Samsung recently, and I love how I'm able to customize how I want. I also really like how there's a Dolby Atmos setting built in for games and movies. You're right, John. You were right all along.
Well, let me be very clear, though, about something. I did not say Android was better than iPhone. Android is better than iOS as an operating system. Apple makes some incredible hardware. I mean, listen, I got a MacBook right in front of me. I've got an iPhone in my office. I got a Mac Studio on my desk. I've got a MacBook Pro at home. I've got an iPad. Apple makes some incredible hardware, and I'm kind of locked into that ecosystem now. It's very hard to get out of the ecosystem once you're in it. But Android as a mobile phone operating system, and I say this as somebody who owns all Apple stuff, beats the shit out of iOS. I'm sorry to all my friends who are Apple acolytes. And again, I say this as somebody who owns all Apple stuff, but it's not even close. iOS is the better operating system in every conceivable way. And I wish there was some way that I could get an Android phone, like one of the top flagship Android phones with Android on it, and still be really plugged in as smoothly and seamlessly with my Apple ecosystem stuff. But I just haven't found a way to do it. So I am still sticking to my iPhone because it just works so well with all of my with my Apple stuff. It just does. All right. 2 more questions. What's next?
From Laura Howard. Hi, John and crew. So I know when we start with could, the answer is yes. But
Correct.
But could you give one show, could you each give one show you would like to see a reimagined version of? Think Battlestar Galactica, not Bionic Woman. My choice, Dark Angel.
Dark Angel was the one with Jessica Alba, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. A show that you could just like completely reimagine like Ronald D. Moore did for Battlestar Galactica. That's a good question. Well, honestly, I'm going to say one that they have already kind of tried, but they did it as a movie, not another television series. A modern day A-Team. What would an A-Team kind of show look like in 2023 with technology being different and the world being different and all that kind of stuff? I think a reimagined thing of that. I don't know that you can do a reimagined Knight Rider. They've tried to do that many times, and I just don't think it has that awe and wonder that it's not as futuristic sounding as it did back in the 80s.
Yeah, all of our shit talks to us already.
Yeah, everything talks to us now, so
Yeah.
it's not as big of a deal.
My rice cooker sings to me. Like, I'm good.
So yeah, the one thing off the top of my head is A-Team. I think. Can you think of a show you'd like to see like redone or reimagined?
I don't know. I really can't think of one where it'd be really great if they rebooted this in a totally different way.
I want a live action Gargoyles.
Oh,
for sure.
that's true.
But
That would be
they might be
rebooted.
working
The
on
same
that. I don't
tone.
know.
But that's not really a reimagining. That's just doing a live action version of
It
a
could be a
cartoon show.
reimagine.
But reimagine
version.
it though.
Yeah.
Reimagine it. Do you got one, Jonathan, that you would like?
Not really. Not in terms of movies. Like I've always wanted a recreation of The Last Starfighter as a movie, but
Oh God.
But as a series, I don't
that's
know.
my number one. But that's a movie.
Yeah.
My number one movie that needs to be remade. Nothing. It's this one and nothing else. Last Starfighter, because that's a movie. I've made this argument before. That is a movie that is actually better suited to today.
Yeah.
Than before, with the video game obsession and virtual and all that kind of stuff, with the modern technology you can use to approach it. Last Starfighter is a brilliant movie. Love it. But it was before its time. It would play so much better today. Some studio, I don't even know who's got the rights to it anymore. Remake The Last Starfighter. That's a movie that is dying for a remake, and I think would do very, very well today. All right. Anyway, with that all down, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of our YouTube channel members who sent in those questions. And I want to thank the people in the room with me. We got Ray Ora, Jonathan Voico,
See you later.
Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
My name's John Campea. Thanks for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.